It started on a Tuesday. Ruth, a radiologist, had been home with Avery for 9 weeks when Rottweiler, the family's Rottweiler, began to change. Not dramatically, not in a way that made anyone reach for the phone immediately or say something is wrong out loud. Just quietly, the way that real problems begin. At the edge of ordinary life, in a place where nobody is paying close attention, the Rottweiler kept inserting her body between Avery and the kitchen entrance. That was how it started. Ruth noticed it on the 3rd day. By the 5th day, Walter had noticed it too. They talked about it over dinner while Avery slept in the next room, and they came to a reasonable conclusion. The trainer they consulted said it was dominance behavior. It made sense. It fit the pattern. They were not careless people. They were careful, attentive parents who had read the parenting books and baby-proofed the house and knew when to call the pediatrician and when to wait. They waited. On the 8th day, the behavior escalated. What had been intermittent became constant. The Rottweiler stopped sleeping through the night. Ruth would find she's standing in the hallway at 2 in the morning, not pacing, not whining, just standing, facing Avery's door, still, waiting for something that Ruth could not identify. She told Walter she was starting to feel uneasy. He said he understood, but that they should give it another few days. They gave it 2 more days. On the 10th night, the Rottweiler did something it had never done before. Not once in the years they had owned she. She pressed her entire weight against Avery's bedroom door from the inside. When Ruth opened the door at 3 a.m., she found the animal standing over Avery's small form, not touching, just positioned, deliberate, certain. Ruth stood in the doorway for 4 seconds. Then she turned on the light. What she saw made her reach for her phone before she had fully processed what she was looking at. The details will not be repeated here because they belong to the family and to Avery's medical file. What matters is that emergency services arrived within 9 minutes. What matters is that the on-call physician later told Ruth, standing in a hospital corridor, while monitors beeped steadily from the room behind her, that the physician's exact words were, "Your animal bought you the time you needed." The doctor said one more thing. She said, "Whatever your animal was doing, it was right." The cause turned out to be gas leak from outdoor propane line. Silent, invisible to any human sense. The kind of thing that builds without announcement and resolves without mercy if nothing intervenes. The Rottweiler had been detecting it, not learning it, not being trained for it, simply detecting it. The way animals detect things that exist beneath the threshold of human awareness, in the chemical signature of breath, in the micro-vibrations of a building, in the frequencies of air that carry information we have given up the ability to read. Ruth sat in the hospital for 6 hours. She sat with her hands in her lap and thought about the 9 days she had watched the Rottweiler behave strangely and had found a reasonable explanation every single time. She thought about the trainer they consulted said it was dominance behavior. She thought about how certain she had been. She had been wrong. Walter arrived at the hospital at 4 a.m. They didn't talk much. They sat together in the corridor and watched the clock and waited for the physician to come back out and give them news they could carry home. The news was good. Avery recovered fully. The treatment was straightforward once the cause was identified. The attending pediatrician used the word fortunate twice in a single sentence, which is not something physicians do unless they mean it. When they brought Avery home 3 days later, the Rottweiler was waiting at the front door. Not excited, not performative. Just there, in the way that a thing is there when it has been waiting because it knew to wait. Ruth knelt on the floor. She put her arms around the animal's neck. She didn't say anything out loud. Some things don't need to be said. The Rottweiler has slept in Avery's room every night since. Ruth checks in each morning and finds them in the same configuration. The animal positioned at the foot of the small bed, watching the door, doing what animals do when they have accepted the job of watching over someone who cannot watch over themselves. If you have ever dismissed a pet's strange behavior as anxiety or jealousy or stress, stop. Watch it more carefully. Ask a different question. The answer you find might be one you needed a long time before you thought to look for it. The veterinarian who examined the animal afterward said something the family did not expect. She said the behavior they had described, the persistence, the positioning, the refusal to stand down, was not random and not anxiety. She said animals operating in protective mode show a specific physiological signature that she had learned to recognize over 20 years of practice. She said, "This animal made a decision. It chose to stay. Not every animal does." The family drove home in near silence. The animal lay in the back seat. When they pulled into the driveway, it was the first one to the front door. The research on animal detection continues to expand. Scientists documenting cases like this one have found that the olfactory and auditory sensitivity of domesticated animals, particularly dogs, extends into ranges that human instruments are still being designed to measure. What the animal in this story was detecting existed. It was real. The animal was not confused, not anxious, not acting out. It was doing the most important work it would ever do, in the only language it had, hoping someone would understand. This family did, just in time.